Hey guys, Tyler Eglin here. Welcome to my concept art dojo. Now, recently I had the time to finally complete one of my paintings, the last in line of my Feudal Japan quasi Ghost of Tsushima pieces. I learned a lot during the process, and today I want to share that with you guys. As you guys are aware, it takes more than a sweet hat, some muscles, to create some meaningful art. And it really does pose the question, what makes one piece more meaningful or more impactful than another? I don't have a solid answer, but I perhaps have some tips into my insight on why this did in fact do a little bit better than my average typical piece did. And guys, now I love the subject and the genre of Edo Japan and the mythologies that go with it, and I'm not new to this. I've posted several images inspired by the Ghost of Tsushima game earlier last month, and I have dabbled in it thoroughly, throughout the years. You can even trace it back to my first upload with the floating city. But 2 weeks ago I posted that new image in all my medias, and I noticed it was performing 2 to 3 times better with the social interactions more than all my other images. And since then I've kind of been pondering why. I just keep thinking I must have done something a little more special with it. I've narrowed this down to 3 things. The first, it could be just straight dumb luck, like it just caught an algorithm and it wrote it. I'm going to rule that out because that wouldn't make for an interesting video. The second thing is technique. I could have technically made this image far better than most of my images, and therefore it just would perform well from a technical perspective. But I think it's pretty much even with everything else I did. So I think it's that third thing. I think maybe I put a little extra heart and soul or care into it, somewhere along the lines, and I just made it a bit more meaningful overall. So that's what I'm going to break down and get into now. So first up on my list for this is to make it personal. Every part of this image was somehow a little bit more personable to me. And this kind of comes back to that old saying that no one will care about your art unless you truly do. I have been inspired by Edo Japan and the samurai genre my whole life. I grew up in the arcades playing these games like Samurai Showdown and The Last Blade, and now I continue to play them with my own children on the Switch and the home arcade I'm currently building. Not only is it nostalgic, but it's straight up inspirational for me. I'm reliving memories, I'm making new ones with my family, and I'm taking that aspect of life and turning it into creative chi. What this actually means is that I fully indulge myself in what I'm creating, hence this hat. I play as a samurai with my kids, I roleplay my own pictures when they go to bed. It's a frame of mind. I like to obsess over anything in life I enjoy. This could be pizza, painting, to a video game. I like to commit, and I go all in. For student artists, this means it's okay not to enjoy all aspects of art, all genres, all subjects, or all the assignments you do. I see this in effect every week in my classes that I run at CGMA. One week a student feels the assignment and it turns out really badass. They're totally vibing with it. While another week they could care less and they hear something rather minimal or bare bones. I think as long as that's intentional and they know they're aware of that or capable of better, that's their responsibility, that's their choice. There is only so much time and you only have so much energy. So I say commit and go all out on what you truly like and are passionate about. Now guys, if you're one to follow trends or create loads of fan art, of popular topics and characters, make sure you do your own take on that subject. It's probably not as sustainable long term if you're just doing someone else's property one-to-one for what they produce. As I mentioned, you guys kind of seen this more recently with my Ghost of Tsushima inspired works. If I had emulated the look and feel of the game and the art that's in it, it's beautiful stuff. I appreciate it all, but I let myself drift off course from there and pave my own path with the subject matter. It was my version of it. It was my interpretation of it. And so what does this have to do with the video game talk and things I was referencing slightly earlier? Well, my image was stagnating itself. I did not know where to take it, or I was fumbling on where to take it once I got it to a certain point. And I really did have to recall, what I really enjoyed doing, fairly recently, playing very specific certain levels, of those games, and it jolted my imagination to make certain aesthetic decisions with the piece that I wouldn't apply prior. Real genuine inspiration really does take place outside the studio and workspace. I know it may be tough considering the circumstances this year, but try to make as many memories as you can and continue to go on and experience life. Alright guys, and for number 2, I'm just going to say you have to go what feels right. And with this, I mean, don't just create art you think others want to see or that will help you kind of fit in with certain social algorithms or groups. Don't make art that you feel is just expected of you. It's not sustainable. You will burn out. This, of course, involves sometimes just taking creative risks. And sometimes you won't even realize what you prefer or don't prefer until you try something. And this, of course, can lead you to find something you are truly passionate about. If just painting costumes or foliage, like my good friend Justin Donaldson does, feels right to you, then go full throttle at it. The work will eventually come, and your own skill level and development with that will prosper. For a lot of us creators though, right, we don't know necessarily what we're going to excel at or what we're going to really find passion or interest in until we try a few things out first. And that does mean taking that occasional risk, and if that means that somebody or a body of work doesn't turn out well, or is in worst case rejected, that's definitely okay. And for example, if you perhaps only make realistic environment art because you feel it's popular, you could, see that burnout that I talk about. I did, 5 years ago when I was trying that. You always have to create things that fuel your passion first and foremost. And so when in doubt with this particular piece, I tried to go back and focus on the story of this particular work. I tried to think about the ideas or the elements that an audience may notice and entice their curiosity, and hopefully invite them to explore more. It'll get them invested in it just a bit more. For example, up to this point in the piece, I'm playing it relatively safe. I'm not doing anything extra or particular up to this point. Eventually, I get the courage enough to go with like magenta style trees, and then I also take other aspects of the trees and make them larger than life, like Forest of Endor style trees. Things way out of scale. Again, it's intentional, and I wanted to really implement them to add that sense of wonder, to create that mystery. And because no matter what style or subject that you're ultimately going for, it tends to be narrative and these themes that transcend all of that and what ultimately humans go to. Because we're all storytellers, and we've been storytelling, since we've been developing languages, even before then. And finally, guys, number 3, don't be afraid to fail. That kind of goes with all the risk taking I mentioned in part 2, but it's true. Sometimes as creators, we can tend to stagnate, our work doesn't improve, we don't grow, we fall into comfort, we fall into routine. And this is when we really do need to get in there, accept change within ourselves and our work, and acknowledge that so we can move on. The days are long and they're filled with plenty of obstacles, and we can't get hung up on these things when it gets challenging. We need to stay motivated and enjoy the process of creating itself and not fixate just on the end results. And what this means for a lot of us is just embracing a lot of failure. So when I'm painting the scene here, I can't get hung up on the thought of whether or not it will be liked by the community. Sure, an artist spotlight or a trending spot on ArtStation sounds glorious, but it's going to distract you as it's going to distract me about what's important. When I was painting this, I wasn't sure what the end goal was. It was pretty hazy. It was like, alright, it's basically like, okay, I have this car, I know the state I need to go to, but I'm not exactly sure what town. So I tried many towns and failed many times in this case. I tried numerous stories here. A spooky one that featured a setting for the yokai, these Japanese little spirits. Another one of my ideas had the town ablaze, during nightfall by raiding shoguns. One version was even to feature a hunting party returning home from a strong blizzard. I had versions that were insanely over-detailed, and they were trying to combine way too many ideas. Again, I failed. I failed a lot during this painting, and I had to work through it. And I did spend a lot of time deliberating over certain directions and ideas in this piece. But the most important thing is I enjoyed it all. It's part of the journey. Alright, so let's go over some closing thoughts here. Every week I see talented artists going unnoticed on all the platforms. Yeah, it's a shame. So at some point for a lot of us, I think it might become less about the technical skill and more about what you have to say. What sort of meaning does that ultimately have? Certainly consider how you can speak to an audience and entice a dialogue, even if it means you're getting a ridiculous hat. It's still pretty fun. Sometimes it's just about what's that extra sauce you can add to your painting. Perhaps it's that brush sauce. Yeah, that was bad. Anyways, guys, thank you for watching. Subscribe if you hadn't. I'm almost up to 90,000. It'd be fantastic if I can get that even higher, but hell. My last legit video was uploaded 3 weeks ago. I know I'm largely inconsistent with that. I do the best I can. Busy schedule, infants, all that stuff. But I want to definitely keep creating content you guys are loving. I think I'm going to follow up this video with more of that painting and talk about style. I don't think I've ever really made a specific video talking about style. So guys, if you have any questions that I talked about today, or questions that you may have in general or for me personally about style, let's hear those in the comments, and I will definitely address those on the next video. Hopefully it won't be 3 weeks away. And folks, so this month's shout out goes to my patron, Michael London. He's posting his work regularly up on Instagram, as you can see here at wit.drawn, as well as ArtStation at Michael London. He's from Sweden, he's a hobbyist, and he's doing all kinds of fun, quirky, humor-based pieces. Cup of Joe. So I hope you're well, you have some great stuff, your portraits are certainly coming along, and all your pieces have quite a sense of charm to them. I wish you the best, and thank you for your support. Guys, I just hit a new milestone over on Patreon. I now feature over 60 tutorials that you'll get instant access to just for signing up at the $7 mark. Hope to see you there. Keep on learning. Catch you later.